I would have to challenge you on that. Because although we talk about the problems a lot of people don't understand how the problem operates. Gotcha. Let me give you an example. Take miseducation. Okay. People know the children aren't learning. They know black boys are not graduating. They know special ed is an issue. They know ADHD is a problem. But they don't know how this operates. They don't understand how the child goes from the classroom into the special education system. Okay. So they have to be taught how it operates. You follow? So we understand that police genocide is a problem in the black community. We understand that structural inequality, disproportionality, i.e. racism, is a problem. But do we understand how racism operates? So I think that once you understand how the problem operates and manifests itself, you're now in a position to solve it. Someone comes to me for therapy. Before I do any therapy, what I do, a clinical history. Is there depression in your family? Have you been depressed before? Have you ever contemplated suicide? So I have to understand your background and how you've been living your life in order to solve your current everyday problems. So now, coming to the present, what we're seeing going on around the country. Let's be honest. Africans were brought to America to serve. We're no longer necessary for the American economic order to operate. They don't need us to function. That explains the purging. That explains the ethnic cleansing.
Even with all these Negroes making money?
Well, remember now, when you look at the black folks who are rich, they are a small percentage of the general body politic of the community. You understand? 85% of black folks are struggling. Half of our children grow up in poverty. Most of our single-parent black mothers are poor, even with a burgeoning rate of black women earning their college degrees. So simply put, black America is suffering despite the television projection of success. Yes, we are more educated than ever before. We have the bachelors, we have the masters, we have the doctorates. But that education has not taken place alongside an increase in wealth acquisition. We're smarter, but we still don't own anything.
Well, we know we're poor. We know some of us are not well educated. We know some of us have a lot of problems when we're growing up in our environment.
Yes.
But besides all of that, there's a problem with racism. The way that other people look at it.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Because, but I'm not saying it's right, but the way we look at ourselves is different.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because if I'm walking down the street and I see some brothers with some hood on, it makes me think twice.
Right.
So if it makes me think twice, I know it's going to make somebody else think twice, but it doesn't give them the right to put it.
But that's based off your experiences, though. Like you know, yeah.
It's also based off conditioning. The conditioning is critical. Media is critical, right, to the social agenda of any country. You understand? You take all the Adolf Hitler. Before he did what he did in Germany, he conducted a media campaign that sought to destroy the image of the European Jew in the German mind before the physical Holocaust began. Same thing in America. Before you begin taking the black life, you must kill the image of the black life. So when you look at gangster rap, which plays a hand in, okay, when you look at the way in which we're portrayed in movies, when you look at the way in which we're portrayed on the radio, popular media, magazines, it is in a very negative way, as if to say these people, the world would be better off without these people. So once you exactly. In other words, it's not so bad that he died because he went to jail anyway. So you have to kill the image before you kill the person. Why? Because people will take up for people who are unjustly treated. But if you can convince the world that we would be better off without these people by killing their image, then when the physical carnage begins, no one will care.
How do we change that, though? How do we change the way that America looks at African? How do we change the fact that these racist individuals, racist police officers, stop pulling out the guns? See, I think you have to penalize it. You know, it's kind of like a kid. You know, your kid does something bad, and you say, okay, it's okay, he's going to continue to do it. If you bust his ass, next time he's thinking about doing it, he's going to be like, I feel like the police officers that kill out of America, just kill people in general.
I agree with you. You're absolutely correct. For example, behavioral psychology, two basic laws is what? All behavior is a function of the context in which it takes place. The American racial hierarchy is a function of the context. And then it's a function of the consequence you follow. So in other words, behavior never stands still. Whether it's you, whether it's a child, whether it's a country, whether it's the police, behavior is always getting worse or it's always getting better. So when Zimmerman wasn't punished for Trayvon, that automatically created a context for it to happen again. You understand? Walter Scott, Tamir Rice, it creates a context so the next police officer says, wait a minute, I can be a little bit more direct. Black men and women signed for blank who were murdered by police were not held accountable. So when you do nothing about misbehavior, then you're supporting it's repeating
Now,
itself.
the people protest and they say, you know, and I love the unity, and I love the unity of African American people. I wish we could be more unified when it's not just a brother dying.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like sometimes the protest, what is it getting done?
Okay.
And the reason I ask that is because, you know, you protest, you shut down a highway, there's an ambulance that's trying to get somebody to a hospital, that person dies in the ambulance. You know, I'm stuck in traffic, I can't pick up my kid at 5 p.m. So what is the protest actually doing? Is it going to make the cop look at us any better? Like, what can we do besides, I think, the protest? I don't know if the protest really works.
Right. Well, first of all, we got to keep in mind that the black person is normally dead before the ambulance shows up to get him in the first place. So let's be clear on that. But here's the thing, Envy. Protest is the first stage of any political economic struggle, right? Protest is your marketing program to let the world know what I stand for, what's happening to me, and what I want. Protest allows you to control the public narrative about your struggle. Without the protest, the world doesn't know why you're doing what you're doing. So protest is important because it is your way to put out your message. So you can't do nothing without it. The problem with black people is there's nothing after the protest.
Right.
Do you understand? The protest becomes the goal instead of the means to the end.
That's what I keep asking. What is the solution? What's the next action?
Well, let me tell you what has to happen now.
Okay.
Because now we're in a state of crisis for black America.
Okay.
3 things black America has failed to do, which is going to keep this carnage machine in place, this police genocide. Number 1, we have failed to publicly criticize and hold accountable the executive branch of the United States government, i.e. President Barack Obama. Despite all the killings, despite all the murders, despite an unemployment rate and a dropout rate that is greater under a black president than it was under the 2 previous Republican presidents, black people have remained silent. Obama has ignored black folk. In fact, we are the only so-called minority population in the country for which he has done nothing nor has spoken significantly for our issues. Compare us to LBGT. They got 3 laws under Obama. 3. That is unprecedented. How many laws did black people get under Obama to protect us from police genocide or even to improve the schools or to reduce incarceration? 0. Okay, they got a Supreme Court justice. Latinos got a Supreme Court justice. LBGT got a Supreme Court justice. President Obama had the opportunity to appoint the first African-American female Supreme Court justice, and he chose not to act. It's not all his fault, though. We have created a context where the president can ignore black people and get away with it because we told the entire world when he was elected that all he had to do was just be black, and we were fine. Remember?
Yeah, he
doesn't have to do anything but be black. That is the worst thing you can say as a marginalized oppressed group in such a racist country as this, as to tell the world that the president, the executive branch of the United States government, does not have to be accountable for you.
That's for any head of state. Or any head of state
Yes.
we elect, we need to push and make sure things happen.
But Obama is the first president out of 44, the first one from George Washington up, that has not had to deal with any sort of public criticism from black people. And if he leaves office without any, here's the problem. If we let Obama leave office without any condemnation from the black community, by virtue, you cannot hold Hillary or Trump accountable for what they do not do for black people, because you have now created a precedent where a president can come in for 8 years, ignore you, even with police genocide, and not receive any criticism.
Make excuses, you know, and I was always mad. I was upset about this because I felt like he was our president, you know, and I felt like when certain things happen, I felt like he should be on the front line because he's dealt and seen, and I'm sure he's been pulled over before. I'm sure he's been racially profiled before. So it kind of bothers me when I see a lot of these individuals get shot and killed, and you don't really hear much from them.
Exactly.
Even to the thing with, you know, when he flew back to go to the funerals and speak to the officers in Dallas, I thought that was great. But then I also thought, well, what about Baton Rouge?
Exactly.
What about Minnesota?
Exactly.
What about Ferguson?
He's not going to do that because President Obama understands something that most blacks in America do not understand. The first business of America is racism. Let's be clear about something. Most white people in America okay, are also suffering economically, right? So if I'm white in a country based on white privilege, what is my claim to fame if I don't have a decent education, don't have a good job? For many white people in this country, their only claim to fame is the fact that I can say I exercise privilege vis-a-vis black people. Obama understands that. So America is held together by the fact that the poor white man understands that he still exercises a privilege that the rich black man does not.
And that's what Donald Trump is reminding him. Donald Trump's reminding all the poor
Donald
white
Trump
people.
changed the game, and let me tell you why. The United States power structure underestimated the impact of an unapologetically honest fool over the American electorate. Do you understand? In other words, Trump is saying to white folks what white folks feel.
Poor white folks, too.
Yes, poor white folks. So you got a rich, wealthy white man appealing to poor white folks. You've never had that. But it's working because he is unapologetic. He's ignorant. He's a fool. But he's honest. And white folk can respect and identify with the white male who's willing to be honest. In other words, Donald Trump intentionally made sure he was the polar opposite of Barack Obama. Look at Obama. You ask Obama a question, you don't get an answer. You never get a straight answer from Obama. It's always, well, we got to see. Let's see what the Americans think. Now, go back to George Bush. George Bush told you what he felt. He was another idiot, but he was honest. Trump is honest. The reason white folks are not rallying behind Hillary the way that the power structure wants them to is because Hillary is the same old thing. She's Clinton all over again. She's Obama all over again.
Correct.
She's a Bilderberg. She's politically correct. Her whole message is scripted. Trump's is not. So the issue now is how do we engineer an election where Hillary wins? Because right now, Trump is carrying the momentum. See, remember now, people don't choose the president anyway, but you want the people to choose the person you want. So the illusion of democracy continues to prevail. America is not a democracy. America is a republic. That's why when people pledge the flag, and I hope there's no black boys pledging the flag, but when people pledge the flag, they pledge the flag to the republic. The word democracy is not in the pledge. The word democracy is not in the preamble. The word democracy is not in the Constitution. The word democracy is not in any of the 50 state constitutions. So why is America called a democracy when it's really a republic? Because it is the illusion of inclusion, the belief that the people actually control its leaders when it does not.
So with that said, right, for as much as we know that America has a history of racism, institutionalized racism, systemic racism, why did Barack Obama become president? Why did they allow Barack
Excellent
to become
question. Okay, every president that is elected is given a domestic mandate and an international mandate. There's something they need you to do domestically. There's something they need you to do internationally. But President Obama, his international mandate was to reopen Africa's resources to Western exploitation. Right? George Bush destroyed the economic conversation between America and Africa. And as you know, Africa is the richest continent on the face of the earth. No country can survive without it. If you have a cell phone, laptop, television, car, airplane, it requires a substance, a material called coltan. The Congo is the #1 producer of coltan on the globe. No Congo, no cell phone. So America needs Africa. Bush destroyed the relationship, though, with the African Union. With Obama's father being Kenyan and his mother being white, you understand? He was the perfect person to put in the White House to reopen up that relationship with Africa, which he has done, okay? And through AFRICOM, which is African Command, President Obama has successfully recolonized Africa in the name of Western financial interest at a rate we haven't seen since Africa was under colonialism. So he succeeded internationally. That was the international mandate. Get the money back from Africa, the gold, the diamonds, the oil, the coltan, get it back. He got it.
Some people that say that Barack
what's the domestic mandate?
The domestic mandate. The reason President Obama was made president domestically is to brainwash and manipulate Black America long enough so the American power structure could take every civil right that our ancestors fought for and give it to every other minority group. So by the time Obama leaves office, all of our rights will have taken from the other minority groups, and we will be back in the 1960s Jim Crow style.
So how does that work? Because I keep looking at the Constitution like, did they remix it for black people?
It doesn't apply to you anyway. Remember now, when remember, 1865, you get the 13th Amendment. You're free, okay? 1867, you get the 14th Amendment. Equal protection under the law. But the 1866, but the 14th Amendment isn't ratified till 1860. House to reopen up that relationship with Africa, which he has done. Okay, and through AFRICOM, which is African Command, President Obama has successfully recolonized Africa at a rate we haven't seen since Africa was under colonialism. So he succeeded internationally. That was the international mandate. Get the money back from Africa, the gold, the diamonds, the oil, the coltan, get it back. He got it.
Some people would say that Barack.
What's the domestic mandate?
The domestic mandate. The reason President Obama was made president domestically is to brainwash and manipulate Black America long enough so the American power structure could take every civil right that our ancestors fought for and give it to every other minority group. So by the time Obama leaves office, all of our rights will have taken from the other minority groups, and we will be back in the 1960s Jim Crow style.
How does that work? Because I keep looking at the Constitution like, did they remix it for black music?
It doesn't apply to you anyway. Remember now, when remember, 1865, you get the 13th Amendment. You're free, okay? 1867, you get the 14th Amendment, equal protection under the law. But the 1866, but the 14th Amendment isn't ratified till 1860.